My name is Aaron. I live in Houston, Texas, just a few miles past the airport. About 2 years ago, I used to work near the port of Houston, in the industrial area past the ship channel. My job involved buying and selling land out there. I had a few friends in the business, and since land deals meant traveling to different properties, meeting people, and getting things done, there was always food and conversation involved along the way. One of our partners was a local guy, an expert on land out there, who'd lived in the area his whole life and knew every parcel like the back of his hand. A mutual friend introduced us, and after that, he and I were pretty much always together. Our office was right off the main road near the port, and from there we'd head inland whenever we needed to check out a property. About 7, 8, sometimes 9 or 10 miles inland there was a small town. Once evening hit, by around midnight, there was no transportation of any kind out there. No cabs, nothing. It was a tiny town with maybe one diner, one convenience store, and a stand that sold snacks in the evening. That's just how things worked out there. If you wanted to find someone, you'd go to the diner and say who you were looking for, and they'd send a kid to deliver the message to that person's house, and eventually the guy would show up. That's basically how my arrangement worked too. We'd often end up way out in the middle of nowhere, and if it got late, I'd be the one driving my partner back to his town since there was no other way for him to get home. One time I remember clearly, it was winter, so it got dark early. I got there, sat down, and called my partner like usual. He wasn't feeling well, so he hadn't come yet. I figured I'd finish what I needed to do and then go check on him myself. By the time I actually got there, the locals already treated me like one of their own. People said hello, asked how I was doing, and we chatted for a while. About half an hour later my partner finally showed up, and we sat down to talk. We got into a long conversation. Then a kid came up to him, maybe 16, 17, 18 years old, and whispered something in his ear. I asked if everything was okay. He said it was nothing. I pushed, since the kid looked seriously worried and my partner looked unsettled too. He admitted, yeah, everything's fine, it's just that this kid's brother is sick, and there's no car, no taxi, nothing in town that could get him to a hospital. They were hoping that since I had a car, I might be willing to drop them off at the hospital or at least the highway. I asked who these people were they relatives of his? He said no, just people from town, but he knew them. I said I had no problem driving them as long as it wasn't an issue. He said it'd be a huge help. So I told him to send word to the family, get them ready, and I'd drive them. He sent the kid to fetch them. A little while later, the young man got in my car along with another friend of mine who'd come along but wasn't from that town. We drove back to where the road ended and the car could go no further. I stepped out to wait. It was getting dark. I told the kid to go bring the patient. While I waited, I turned the car around so we'd be ready to head out quickly, since in a few minutes my car was about to become an ambulance, and I had no idea yet what condition the patient would be in or how I'd need to drive. A few minutes later, I'd turned the car around and was standing there when I saw a woman approaching, maybe 35 to 38 years old. She looked fit, well put together, nice hair, clean and attractive, with one arm draped over a young man's shoulder, helping him walk. The kid who'd first come to get me was supporting him from the other side. I opened the back door. The young man got in, then the woman, then the kid. I got back in the driver's seat and asked where they needed to go. They named a hospital about 10 miles past the highway. I told them honestly that I probably couldn't drive all the way there myself since I had other things to take care of, but I'd get them a ride on the highway that could take them the rest of the way. They thanked me, and we set off. We'd just gotten back onto the main road from the town, hadn't gone far, when I started feeling my left shoulder go numb. I moved my arm a bit, figured it was just fatigue from gripping the wheel on long drives. But the numbness kept spreading. Something told me this wasn't just tiredness, it was something else. I adjusted my rearview mirror to get a look at the three of them, and my mind shifted into a different gear. The woman wasn't sitting directly behind me, she was behind my left side, leaning back, totally calm and relaxed. But I noticed she'd lean forward every so often and blow softly toward my shoulder, the way someone blows when performing some kind of ritual or spell. It went from my neck all the way down my shoulder. That gave me a jolt. What is this? My skin started crawling. I checked both my hands. Something felt wrong, but I told myself maybe I was imagining it. Then I noticed she'd done this exact motion to me 3 times in a row. By the 3rd time, I was certain something was happening. This wasn't ordinary. So I started reciting verses from the Quran. First Ayat al-Kursi, then the 4 protective chapters, Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq, and Nas. I recited Ayat al-Kursi once, then moved to the others. It seemed like she realized what I was doing, because she suddenly leaned all the way back, and I kept watching her closely. At first when I started reciting, her movement sped up too. I could even read her lips moving faster, matching whatever she was doing. She started reciting from the opposite direction of whatever passage I was on. I'd start from the beginning, she'd come from the end, and naturally at some point we'd collide in the middle. When that happened, it felt like getting dizzy, like I might lose my place entirely and start reciting something else instead. So if I was midway through one prayer, I'd suddenly switch to a different one. She'd immediately switch to match. This happened 4 separate times, cycling through all 4 prayers, and each time she mirrored whatever I changed to. The whole time this was happening, I sped up the car. We got close to our destination, basically reaching the highway. I pulled into an open spot, stopped, opened the door, and stepped out, taking a few deep breaths. My friend immediately got out and asked if I was okay. I told him yes, everything's fine, just get them out and let's go. He said, wait, didn't you say you'd take them to the hospital? I told him no, I never said that, I just said we weren't going any further. I told the woman and the young men that this was as far as we could go, that there were no other cars out here, but they should be able to grab a taxi from the highway. They tried insisting a little, asking if we could take them just a bit further, but I said no, I didn't have the time, and eventually they agreed to get out. The woman stepped out, walked around the car, and before opening the door for her patient, she looked me up and down through the car window and said, "You got away." Then she helped her patient out, and the 3 of them walked toward the road for a taxi. I got back in, started the engine, and drove straight back to that town as fast as I could. My friend asked if everything was okay. I told him what had happened, that I'd been reciting prayers, and she'd been doing something too. He said he hadn't felt anything himself but could tell something was off with me, though he hadn't been watching what was happening behind him. I told him our frequencies had somehow locked onto each other, hers and mine, and I genuinely have no idea what else was happening in that car beyond what I was doing and what she was doing. We were just on autopilot, each of us doing our own thing. When we got back to town, we tried to find the original guy who'd asked for the favor, but he'd already gone home and was asleep. Later, I asked around to try to understand what exactly had happened, but that's a whole other long story. What I can say is that this was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. Nothing like it has ever happened to me before or since, and thank God, I'm not someone who's easily scared. But ever since that day,